In this video, we are going to discuss substances and their classification. Substances are classified into two categories, either they are elements or they are compound. What are elements? Elements are the simplest types of matter which cannot be broken down into simpler substances. Wise. Compounds are substances that can be broken down by chemical means. When they are broken down, the pieces have completely different properties than the original compound. What does it mean? I would explain shortly. What is the difference between compound and mixtures? Compounds are made up of one kind of materials. For example, all elements, two elements combine together and they make up a new substance which is known as compound. Mixtures, different type of things, you can mix them as a physical blend, like ice cream, salad, cookies, cream, oil, you can put in one container. That's physical blend. Compounds are always the result of a chemical change. Mixtures are formed just because of a physical change. You mix two things, you mix water and sugar, you get a mixture. But in compound, for example, if you're making water, you must have to go through a chemical change. Then hydrogen and oxygen would result into a new compound which is called water or H2O. Third thing, compounds always have definite composition. Mixtures, variable composition. What does it mean? Compounds always have a chemical formula. Like water, formula is H2O. Glucose, C6H12O6. Coffee is a mixture. Is there any chemical formula of coffee? No. H2O at your home, at your school, at your friend's house, in a mall, always H2O, the ratio of 2 to 1. But in coffee, you can add more water, you can add more coffee water. So, coffee may be concentrated, may be light, may be dilute. Salad, you can add salad dressing a little bit or because. But compounds have a chemical formula because they have definite composition. What do you think? What is this? If you look at this picture as this diagram, everything is the same. One kind of balls, same color, same size, just scattered. This type of substance is called element. Look at this picture now. You see one blue ball is connected with two black balls. All of them are like that. That's called definite composition. So, this type of substance, what we call them? Compound. Now look at this. They are not connected. There is no equal distances between them. No definite composition. What we call it? We call it mixture. Now, what's the difference between element and compound? Element versus compound. Compounds can be broken down into simpler substances by chemical means, but elements cannot. You have an element, hydrogen. Whatever you do, hydrogen would remain hydrogen. But in a compound, if you conduct a chemical reaction, then you see that it produces new substance. It's called compound. Look at this picture. You see light, and as a result, heat is also produced. When heat and lights are produced, it is an evidence of a chemical change. Properties of compound. Compounds formed are totally different from their component element. Hydrogen is an element. Oxygen is an element. Hydrogen has its own properties. Oxygen has its own properties. Combined together, they form water. Now, water has its own properties, different from hydrogen and oxygen. Due to a chemical change, resulting compound has new and different properties. What does it mean? If you burn a paper, you see paper turning into ashes. Ash is totally different from the paper. That is the result of a chemical change. Now see, table sugar. We know table sugar has a formula, C12H22O11. What is that? Sugar. Carbon. Carbon doesn't have formula. Carbon has a symbol. Hydrogen has a symbol. Oxygen has a symbol. Elements have symbol and compounds have chemical formula. That's the difference between element and compound. Sodium chloride is a compound made up of element of sodium, atom of sodium, element of chlorine, or atom of chlorine. Okay? Flowchart. First question. Can you separate it physically? Physically, just by ordinary means, like with a spoon, with a hand. Answer is yes or no. For example, if you can separate it physically, your answer is suppose no. Then what happens? And if your answer is yes, what happens? First, let's see. If you can separate it physically, then it's mixture. And we already know, as we had discussed in the last video, mixtures are of two types. Composition uniform, thoroughly mixed. If yes, then it's homogeneous mixture. If no, it's heterogeneous mixture. Heterogeneous mixture further classified into colloids and suspension. We are not going to discuss colloids and suspension at the moment, but we will discuss when we get into the chapter of solution. Now, back to matter. If you cannot separate it physically, then what is it? It's pure substance. If it's pure substance, it's classified into elements or compound. If it is chemically decomposed, then it is compound. You see, yes, compound. If no, is an element. Now, symbols. Like I told you, compounds have formula. Symbols, elements have symbol. Where you can find elements? On periodic table. Everything you see on periodic table is called an element. We will study in details down the road periodic table, then we will discuss in detail. Right now, just two things I want to Uh, Explain. Elements are represented by one or two letter symbol. Compounds have a formula. If elements have one letter, then that letter is written as uppercase. If two letters, then first letter uppercase, second letter lowercase, like Ba, like Ca. This is boron, this is barium, this is carbon, this is calcium. Don't worry if you cannot remember this name. We will discuss later in the chapter of periodic table. H is hydrogen, one letter. Sodium is two letter. But remember one thing, sodium, two letter, Na, make sure first letter uppercase, second letter lowercase. If you write like this, wrong. If you write like this, wrong. This is correct way to write the symbol of elements which has two letters in it. That's all for the day. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day.